resolution yedu ndeyekuti we want to make sure by 2030 tinenge tisina corruption nemoney laundering is basically admitting zvinhu zvatinogara kutaura kuti vanhu havari corrupta. It's basically admitting. And the guy when he grabs the mic, I don't know whether kuti zvinenge ndifungei, but he just taura, he just says stuff zvokuti wegonangagaya kuti bamba vadai vangonyarara vangoshandisa homwe yavo semashandisiro anokuita homwe yavo, vangoshandisa homwe yavo ngoti zvinhu zvingodai. Then him being given the mic, and I'm like, come on now, this dude here, this dude right here, we blaza no more. Right. So, and then now, pane vamwe vatiri kuziya vari kurova PR, but tichinombovaferefeta zvedu, but hatichazokupai mogara nhingi makavachenjerera kuti ava vanhingi vaunleashwa kurwa. You see, because zvaane levels. I want you to get me right. Zvaane levels. Pane level rechirakashi rana Snowball nana Muku ane vamwewo varungoitawo harisiro level racho iri level riri above zvinoitwa nhingi nana Muku zvezviye. Aiwa, iri level riri above manje iri level revanhu manje who are articulating things, who are packaging things, who are selling things. Kweda kuti because ana Muku ndokupresa ana Chivhayo kuti Chivhayo nhasi akapfeka gogo ngi ndopraising yako. 11 andikutaura is not bigger than that, you understand? But all this, ladies and gentlemen, is being done so that they make the 2030 agenda look good. They are selling the 2030 agenda, make it look appealing. But what is happening now? The 2030 agenda is coming. I want to believe it's coming at the expense of public safety and public security. I want to try and distinguish the two. I want to set the scene. And how I want to set the scene is to look at the two and sort of describe what one is and describe what the other is, and then consider the difference between the two, and then juxtapose that with the events that are going on in Zimbabwe currently. So as I said, we have got things that are happening in Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe is already a divided nation in terms of along political lines. You are now finding out, Kuti, the message that is being sold is for you to be somebody in Zimbabwe. You have to join ZANU-PF. For you to matter or for you to have opportunities, you have to join ZANU-PF. The safety net in Zimbabwe right now, as it is being sold, the safety net that is there, it is no longer social security, where you say those who cannot afford will be given a social welfare, ingave mari kana ingave chi, to sustain them or to cushion them, for them to make ends meet, to help the government's role coming in to cushion those who are living upenyu husakarama. So you would think that the social welfare our department would come in there and cushion the people, but no, The social welfare department in Zimbabwe is now ZANU-PF. And that is what is being sold to the people. Right now, kuda kwacho tagwirei anzi comrade nhamo yapera. Look at the way that he is being described. What's what is that akapiwa kuhondo yasina mbobvira kaenda kuhondo. Well, team racho harinonoke katizira yozvatizo uyu muveteran. But hanzi comrade nhamo yapera. And when he's described as comrade nhamo yapera, munhu anopedza nhamo. And right now he's telling you kuti comrade nhamo yapera has put out this program, comrade nhamo yapera has put out this program, comrade nhamo yapera has put out this program. But for you to benefit, you need to be a ZANU-PF member, or you need to join ZANU, or you need to align with ZANU-PF. So that is the safety net that is now existing in our nation called Zimbabwe. I hope you're following. Right? So now this is one side. And I saw them, parading, these so-called, returnees, and what just makes, the whole thing sad. There is one called, let me see if I can get, Stara and Acho. I think is a victim is a victim of ZANU-PF abduction. If I remember, the name, I will say it along the way. But there are these people that are being paraded as returnees, in that office, Yachebundo, and they continue to be. And then mukoma wamo gentsvangirai mukoma kati munin'ina wamo gentsvangirai uyu anonzi Colin ngetsvangirai uyu. He is also being, but this dude, if I remember, he went to ZANU-PF eons of years ago, but they are still, bringing him back as a new returnee. I don't know what is it that they are trying, to do. It's like they want to make him the face of the ZANU-PF returnees. You understand? So because each 10 you would find I think what those ones he has retained. I don't know how many times he's retaining to ZANU-PF. But all this, ladies and gentlemen, is pointing towards. I saw somebody wekumasvingoku akabuda achitaura nini ndakazenge ndiri MP 2008 ndikazoita sei ndikazoita sei ndikazoita sei ndikazoita sei ndikazoita sei ko zvinezvi ma-opposition political parties emuzimbabwe they are now personal properties or personal projects chichi as if ari kuenda kune a grouping isiri personal project. ZANU-PF personal project yaibasa munhu. Everybody knows that. Who doesn't know what is ZANU-PF personal project yaibasa munhu. But anyway, this guy was being paraded. He was saying, all these flowery things, praising ZANU-PF and stuff like that. I want you to see what is happening. What is happening is having everybody aende ku ZANU-PF, and that is the safety net. ZANU-PF with the hope yekuti you join the bandwagon yevanhu vanenge vachiti vari kudya. And you are finding ndakaona munin'ina wacho bvayo achidriver iyo maRolls Royce awaya mujecha vachidriver ikokoko vachiparedwa vachinzi izvo honai ndo life iyi. But you are looking at the roads, dilapidated roads, there's no tar. Safety chaichai hapana. It is no longer guaranteed. There's no public safety on the roads. It is no longer guaranteed. Nungotaura roads. So many of our people are dying. How many people have perished? Nema road accident in Zimbabwe because of our roads. Anyone wacho kutoshaya kuchengetedzwa kwemutemo yemumugwagwa. because havasi kuzvikwanisa. They can't do it anymore. Anguva manzvake manzvake, mazvake mazvake. Things are just happening. You see, things are just happening. Zvirungoitika mukati menyika yeZimbabwe. And then the other side, that I'm talking about, is the other side of those who are saying, but no, whatever it is, zvikuitika mukati menyika, hazvisi right. Things are not okay in Zimbabwe. Those who are not believing, or those that do not believe in this 2030 nonsense, those that believe that ZANU-PF is not doing it, ZANU-PF have failed. Those who believe that ZANU-PF have failed, you are sitting on the other side. Because you are sitting on the other side. The guarantee is for you in terms of your safety, in terms of your security. Asina kumira zvakanaka. So when I'm talking about public safety, and when I'm talking about public safety, I am talking about protection yatinopiwa nehurumende kuti vaite kuti mamiriro ekunze anga aine order ende muve nepeace mukati menyika. So public safety all about protecting our people and property. But the teacher waiting. What have we witnessed, so far? You've got bombings that are now happening. Sapes Trust was bombed. There's no safety there. Safety of the persons, safety of the property. Bwende's house was bombed. There's no safety of the individuals. There's no safety of the property. Today, I was looking at an incident that was reported, this morning. An incident involving a honorable Tendai Biti. And in that incident, there's somebody that tried to swipe motkari ya Tendai Biti. Somebody would try to swipe motkari ya Tendai Biti, and that person actually came and commented on the post and on the Tendai Hilton Manota. I saw a post, I got fellow. Okay, this story was reported like this. This morning, Tendai Biti, the current leader of the Constitution Defenders Forum, CDF, faced a dangerous situation while leaving home for work. A Land Cruiser with registration number AFR 8963 suddenly swerved toward his vehicle on Enterprise Road in Harare. To avoid a serious accident, Biti had to steer into a ditch. He was unharmed, returned to the road, and managed to capture the vehicle on the camera. Right? Over the weekend, riot police were camped outside of Tendai Biti's law chambers in Newton Park because they believed Kudizo there was going to be a gathering ACDF. Right? So the guy now, this Hilton guy now comes and says, fellow citizens, I would like to sincerely apologize to Advocate Tendai Biti for my actions in the early hours of today. I would also like to apologize to ZANU-PF official for soiling the name. Lastly, Zimbabweans in general. It was an accident, nothing sinister at all. When I was engaging with him, he said it was a mistake. That was a mistake that almost costed life. Why not, pay, be careful out there? Because it is, you owe a duty of care to other drivers. And this individual, if you go on his profile, uh, he's a ZANU PF praiser. So he's basically a ZANU PF supporter or a ZANU PF member. So I'm looking at that, and I'm like, somebody's safety was put on the line. Not only not only Tendai Biti, because if you look at the action that Honorable Tendai Biti had to take to, get out of the way of this guy, probably you could have done that and, collided with another vehicle and putting the safety of another person in danger. There's no respect, for the property. So this guy is taking this casually to say good, it was a mistake. His driving was and yet we know in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe is littered with history of people being taken out by vehicles, accidents being caused to take out people. There is no longer, there is no longer, there is no longer that public safety. And for those who are a no to the 2030 agenda, a no to the 2030 agenda. And then comes citizen security. The guarantee that our rights and freedoms are recognized and protected in Zimbabwe as a democratic country that has got a constitution that spells out these rights and these freedoms. They are at an assault that is no longer guaranteed in Zimbabwe. If you oppose the 2030 agenda, if you want to say something about the 2030 agenda, trust me, believe me, your security is no longer guaranteed. I'm not trying to scaremonger people here, but I am commenting on the things that I am seeing. Right now, the Surface Trust was bombed. The police moved in, but up to now, nothing has come out of that. So the freedom of assembly, the freedom of association was assaulted on that day. When they went and cordoned off in the premises, the private premises that were that these guys had said we are going to go and do our activity at this address. It advocate and advocate Gumbo, private premises. That was an assault, ladies and gentlemen, on property rights. Everything that you are seeing is an assault, and this is meaning that we do not have an adequate legal system in Zimbabwe, and the judiciary is no longer ensuring the safety of our people. Job Sikala, they had to follow him to South Africa. They had to follow him to South Africa. The guarantees of public security no longer there. And who are the victims? The people who are opposing the 23rd agenda. That is what is going on, ladies and gentlemen. So when you're looking at these things, happening, when you're looking at these things, happening, ladies and gentlemen, you would think that there is something that is about to happen in Zimbabwe that is going to be causing the country to go into a state of an emergency. Izobodo. There is nothing like that. It is a cabal in Zimbabwe, in Harare, that is determined to make sure that what it wants, it gets. And what it wants is the 23rd agenda. And that is what they are working towards getting. But it is coming at the expense of our public safety and at the expense of our public security. You would think that we'll be having these things being properly managed to ensure that people are protected. But oh no, there's actually an assault that is happening. Mukati menyika. And no one is safe. No one is safe. If you turn against this, ladies and gentlemen, you are not safe. Everyone wants to be turned into a praise and worship singer. Everyone. What they want is to make you a praise and worship singer. Let's make everyone a praise and worship singer. You sing the ZANU-PF song and you'll be okay. You don't sing the ZANU-PF song, you will not be okay. That is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. So that is, the topic, for the day. I just thought that, I'll put that into perspective. And then itongokuru kuti muri kuionawo sei nyaya ndiri kutaura nezvayo. Ndiri kuumana here panyaya ndiri kutaura iyi kana kuti izvoningi ndaitawo kamuono kemunhu ane grade 7. Pane nyaya ndiri kureketa iyi. Right. Kana pane ada komentawo, you come through. I'm not going to say much anymore. But that is what, is what's up. Anyway, Dandaro, how you doing? Dandaro, are you there? Right. I see your mic. Okay. My dad mute and okay. Right. The guidance we good see. Okay. Right. Dandaro, are you able to speak? Kana would you're struggling with your network? Right. Okay. Let me move on. Kana I'm thinking about good and ready. Just let me know. Right. Real G.
Yes, uncle.
Zviri sei.
Awa zviribo murizei.
Ngodaro ndiwo ka mazuva ari kudai kufamba aya.
Ndoyachi. What a very, very good topic, and your opening remarks, I think, captures everything about the topic.
Thank you.
Right. Am I okay to go first, or?
Yeah. You can go. Yeah, you can go ahead. It's fine.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think the issue of the citizens' security and public safety has been a very complex issue with the Zimbabweans, as individuals, as povo, the politicians themselves, the opposition, and even those in ZANU-PF. Because I think what we have to acknowledge is that the ZANU-PF has managed to create a monster within the system, a monster that would destroy anything and everything in its path. And that includes ZANU-PF individuals themselves. Because when we talk about public safety and public security, we're not just talking about those people who are opposing ZANU-PF. We're also talking about people who are within ZANU-PF. Because what is important to um, to talk about, or to why it is important to mention that, is because people in ZANU PF, I believe that not every person in ZANU PF is as bad as the ZANU PF system. There are people in ZANU PF who are very bad, evil individuals who are part of the system and who wants the system to remain in place. But there are also people who have got a good heart, who joined ZANU PF with an open mind, an open heart, and a desire to make positive changes. However, those people, I would like to believe, one of the reasons, and there could be other reasons, one of the reasons why they cannot come out and speak up is because of fear of their safety, not only to them, but to their families as well. If you look at the history of ZANU PF, even from the days of the liberation struggle, there are some deaths that up to today people don't know what happened, or the narrative that we've been given, it does not make sense, it's not logical. If you look at the way people like Herbert Chitepo died, people like Tongo Gara died, we don't even have like a formal public statement or an independent inquiry to understand exactly what happened. So those were the people that were within ZANU PF, but they died in that way. And then if we look at the aftermath or the post-independence era of Zimbabwe politics, with ZANU PF at the helm, how many people from within ZANU PF that have died in mysterious circumstances, and how many people have died who are outside ZANU PF, the opposition, the activists, the Rashiwa Gujas of this world, the Ushewa Kunze, the all those people that come to mind, even the people that were in MDC, even the allegations or the rumors about Trangirai's whether his illness was an instigation or was as a result of some poisoning. All those things captures the topic that you have mentioned today about the public safety. It is not safe in Zimbabwe, and it is not even safe for people in ZANU PF themselves. And some of those people in ZANU PF, that's probably the reason why they don't see any alternative. It's like, when they say ZANU PF is like a home, because they know that wherever you go, you will come back. And when you come back, you're not coming back because you are not able to look after yourself, or money wise things are not working. They know that your safety is at risk without ZANU PF. This is like how the mafias operate. If you look at the mafias and the most dangerous gangs around the world, it's easy to join a gang, but it's not easy to operate or to live a normal life outside this a mafia kind of a cult. And this is exactly how ZANU PF is turned Zimbabwe into. And what people need to realize as well, the basic, you need a politically conscious young population. The youth, they have to be politically conscious. And being politically conscious it's not about knowing who is in parliament and which political parties are operating within the country. Being politically conscious is to understand the you know the ins and out of Zimbabwean politics. Like if you look at ZANU PF, right? What is it about ZANU PF that people want, and what is it ZANU PF that is failing to do? And even though you like ZANU PF, why do you like it? Even if ZANU PF is in power, what is keeping them in power? I've seen a lot of people writing on Twitter and on other social spaces that ZANU-PF is a very, very organized political party. They have managed to outdo any form of opposition, even foreign interference. But what people don't realize is the space for political activism, the space for opposition politics to function has been totally closed. It is now practically illegal to form a political party in Zimbabwe, to function, to mobilize, and to hold the government to account. Because if you do those things, which are the fundamentals of any opposition party, you will be arrested. So there is no way you can credit ZANU-PF for being very organized, for crediting Emerson Mnangagwa as one of the best political architects in Zimbabwe, when he is using state apparatus, when he's using, uh, you know, government institutions like the courts, the police, the army, the CIO to target opposition forces. What you would want is a system where we see Emerson Mnangagwa versus Nelson Chamisa debating policies. What we want to see is a shadow minister of any political party, whether it's CCC, whether it's MDC, whether it's some shadowy political party, a shadow minister, you know, whether you are representing education, you're representing home affairs, you're representing, information and publicity ministry, sharing ideas, going, debating your policies, and let the people choose of, out of these policies that is being debated, out of these conversations, which one is the best. But what we have at the moment is just one political party that controls everything. People compare Mugabe and Emerson Mnangagwa. With Mugabe, yes, there was some level of brutality. There was some level of control of state institutions. But what we see today is we've seen an escalation of that control, right? We've seen almost total capture of state institutions to the extent that it is now unsafe. If you think about Job Sikala, you know, this guy has been in prison for almost 2 years. God knows what happens in that prison. How does he trust people who are protecting him, whether it is these prisoner officers, whether it is, the next, the prisoner sitting next to him? It could be anybody. It could be a planted agent of the state. We don't have independent government institutions that's got the interests of the country at heart. We've got institutions that have got the interest of the mafia at heart. It used to be ZANU-PF as a whole, as the whole party, but now we have a political elite within ZANU-PF. We now have people who actually control who sits in the central committee, who sits in the Politburo, and who has got access to the reserve bank. We're now seeing the emergence of people like Taguire, the emergence of people like Sir Wicknell. People don't realize the amount of power that these people have, right? If we look at the Mike Chimombe case, right? Yes, it was about Timbudzi and some campaign funds that were abused. But these guys were in custody for how long without bail? You can tell that somebody somewhere is controlling how these state institutions like the courts are operating. In a normal country with normal and independent um, uh, function, you would expect people to go to bail, apply for bail, go on bail, and if they breach their bail conditions, and more stringent bail conditions are put in place. But what we have in Zimbabwe, you have a situation where a judge can deny somebody bail because he probably wants to go for on his own personal business. Like the judge will tell you that we will be told by the court that the judge is gone for a funeral, or is not feeling well, or the reports were not filed in time. These are all tactics to make sure that this person is punished. It's like torture in a way, because there's no way somebody can be on bail for 2 years. And people, as Zimbabweans, we expect, you know, people, leaders like Nelson Chamisa, oh, he should be doing something more than treating verses. Yes, he's probably that's the only way that he can speak up using the verse, Bible verses. Because if he's not allowed to go all in, what else can he do? I actually think, in the context, in the bigger picture, people like Nelson Chamisa, people like Ngaruvume, people like George Bisikala, Tendai Biti, even Douglas Monzora, they've done as well as they can within that, because it's not a safe environment. And right now, if you look at the people that are on this space here, I can guarantee you, before each of us open our mouth, at the back of our mind, we're thinking about, am I going to say something that is going to get me into trouble
Right.
with the authorities? It's like you have to, unless if you are somewhere in the world where you're completely beyond the reach of the authorities. In Zimbabwe, it's very, very difficult for anybody to operate independently without the fear of the authorities. And it's very easy to criticize these musicians. We've got musicians for ED, top soup for ED, teachers for ED, nurses for ED. These people, what they're basically doing is they're fighting for their safety. Yes, it might be financial safety, it might be physical safety, it might be, psychological safety, but it's because they know that outside the the this more outside the system that this monster is created, your safety is not guaranteed.
Right.
You know that Heroes Acre place, I can guarantee you there's a big, huge percentage of people who died because they went against the system. And that applies to people who are buried in
Absolutely.
Chipinge, in Uzumba Maraba Pfungwe, we don't even know where they're buried, but they were just buried like that, like some dead animal, because
Right.
of that.
Right. Anyway, thank you very much, my brother. Regarding Zod, I'm one of the sheep, but I do appreciate. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. When I do get you when you say that even those who are in ZANU PF who do not want what is happening, their public safety and public security is not guaranteed. But sometimes ndo vamwe vacho vandanga kutaura kuti vangotsvaga a safety net and they are complicit. Because if you don't like what is happening, buda kamuchinhu chacho umire nevamwe vanotaura kuti izvi handisi kuda izvi. Because what just needs to happen in Zimbabwe, see, the reason why I am talking about this is for us to get to a realization yekuti, for you to guarantee your safety and for you to guarantee your security, it has to be now the duty and the job of the citizens to be each other's keeper. You understand? Because if the system is not guaranteeing us, who then do we turn to for that safety? Who do we turn to for that safety? That is what I am talking about. That is where I am looking at. You understand? So even those who are within the system, if they, or who are in ZANU PF, if they feel Kutizoni, they don't want what is going on. People power.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry, Uncle. I'm going to pose this question to you, right? When Emerson Munangagwa was expelled from ZANU PF, what did he do? He fled the country, right?
Mhm.
We may debate about whether he fled in the manner that was that was reported in some shadowy book, that's another debate. But the fact that he felt that he was no longer safe in the system that he was saving, the
Mm-hmm.
system that he helped to design,
Mm-hmm.
right? That speaks volumes of how dangerous this monster is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it is not even a debate that this guy, Emerson Mnangagwa, as we speak today, probably what he's doing as well is to please that system because he knows that his life is at risk. Chiwenga, right now, if you look at how Chiwenga is being targeted, it also shows that he's not even safe from the system itself. I think the main question would be, who
Mm-hmm.
is the system? If everybody is fearful of this monster, of this devil, who is the devil? I believe there's some people who are behind, who we don't even know their names, who are behind this.
But in the current establishment, is it that difficult to unmask who's behind everything? Is it difficult?
I think what is difficult is, right. I mean, I've had the pleasure of, you know, studying how mafias work, right?
Uh-huh.
How police will target or infiltrate gangs across the world, right? One of the tactics that police will do if they manage to infiltrate a gang, right? They can identify a person that has got very, very significant information. And that person, they'll offer him a package, a package that is too good to refuse. I worked in London, right? In the gangs unit, right? Police actually bought houses for some gang leaders who were from Caribbean countries. They bought houses for those gangs and for those people and say, look, we can offer you a retiring package. Return to your country. We're gonna buy you a house, buy you a car, give you like a lump sum of money. That means you're set for life, on condition that you provide us this information. I can tell you that so many gangs fell because of that. So what you need to do is people need to I don't know, maybe if there's a way of infiltrating ZANU PF, right? Get that information, put it out there. Because at this moment, I've never seen anybody that came out of ZANU PF that provided solid information, for example, about how elections are rigged. Look at Jonathan Moore. Jonathan Moore was in ZANU PF, but up to today, nobody, including Jonathan Moore himself, has managed to come out and provide detailed and information that cannot be disputed about how elections are rigged. Everybody just come up with all sorts of rumors, all sorts of possibilities. It might be this way, it might be that way, but we don't even know how this. We know that the elections are rigged. There's absolute no debate about it, but we don't know how. To the extent that even Xavier Kasuguere, who was part of that, he is not even provided information on how elections are rigged. And this is why I'm saying there are people within ZANU-PF, within that system, that we don't know, that cannot control Ajinich. Otherwise, all the people that rebelled against ZANU-PF since God knows when, they would have told us that these are how elections are rigged. 2008 election. How many people were in ZANU-PF? They came out of ZANU-PF because they were expelled, joined the MDC, like people like Zikamai Mavaire and all those characters. But nobody has come.
But in 2008, we all know what happened. We all know how they read.
No,
It's something that is out there, in the public.
no. But
In
what do you know?
2023,
What
in
I'm talking about,
2023,
Uncle, is
in
what I'm talking about
2023.
is the process, the process itself. To say
No,
this
but
is a,
no, but sometimes there isn't any process. If you look at the 2008, they were beaten hands down. And what did they do? They counted the votes. They realized they've been beaten. So how can we spin this? How can we turn this around? Let us just cook the figures. Let us just provide a figure that says this is the result. And that is exactly what they did.
What about the elections after those? Like the three sets of election, 2013, 18, 2023.
In 2018, we know how they rigged. It was clear. Some of the results that were read were not the results that were obtained in the background. I remember I was
Is this
listening.
speculation?
No,
Is this
listen.
speculation or
No,
is
it's
it
not
actually fact?
speculation. How about a result in my channel in my central? You get told that by 5 p.m. 100 something thousand people had voted. But between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., you are now being told an extra 400,000 people had voted. So those things, it's clear what has happened. They fight, the figures.
So, what you would want in that situation is to come up with the names to say this person is the one that cooked these figures, right?
My brother, you can't be serious. That is ZANU-PF, man. Let's be honest, man. Since 1980, you want people to authenticate how ZANU-PF has been running the country and the business of actually rigging elections and how
No,
the Nkomos
my
were
point.
actually rigged out of
I think you're
position.
missing my
And
point.
then
My
wait,
point.
listen, this is
My
politics
point. I'm
here.
not just
Of saying, okay, bring me the name and say, this man did this. Is that what you want? You don't
listen,
know.
brother.
You don't no, listen, my brother. You're talking of processes. And rigging is a strategy that has got a process.
Yes.
So now, what is it that when one MP decides to use his own process within his own constituency in order for him to rig, or maybe the president say in such a constituency,
an MP does not determine the process of running an election, even in their constituency.
Let's return back to the topic, please. I think we're losing value in this discussion.
Anyway, Uncle, my point was, I'm just gonna wrap up what I was gonna say. My point was, people need to understand or know the individuals who are behind this monster, because if these mean individuals are named and shamed, it makes it easier for people to come out and speak more. Name and shaming is used across the world, and that's how people do not end up joining these systems that oppresses people. But as long as they hide behind we are ZANU-PF, anybody can do anything. And because you don't know their names, you just say it's ZANU-PF. Within that ZANU-PF setup, there are individuals.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Alpha Bishino, do you want to come in?
Thanks, and gorgeous. I don't know whatever it is that people want to name and shame. When the Nkomos were jumping borders wearing skates and whatever, when they were being persecuted, naming and shaming was done, and what happened? Nothing happens. Let's be honest. This is Zimbabwe. That is the modus operandi. Saga, what you're wishing for, forget it. You'll never get it. That is the reality of the situation. But it will happen, and it will keep on happening. You see? And I think in ZANU-PF, they've got a motto of saying, use a fool until its eyes are open. And until you say, no, this has got to stop, then probably all of us, when we say that, ZANU-PF will continue using these strategies, and until when. And these strategies, they are not for you to know or for you to say, no, 100% I can actually pinpoint here, this is what happens. But by the end of the day, you know that, there's a manipulation of the system actually getting the intended outcome that it wants, that is actually against the people. This is what actually happens. It's politics, my brother. And politics, in these definitions, you come up with so many things, and even democracy. But what you're saying, Angujenza, one of the things that I enjoyed you talked about was when you were introducing the topic and talking about the recruitment drive that is actually going on. It's a reality, it's there. They are now releasing now their Tingamati Machia and Kenyan Koso. The Chihuahuas have failed the job. Now I think they're bringing in the Kenyan Kosos now. And these ones, they come in to try and see who to target probably and who to offer. the game had already started with the returning of anapadare. Mukasha mutezvara angu padare. Angu jeza.
Kezvara, aibofuka kezvara. Unoti ndindirimukasverewo. Kuti anzizoti ati mukwasha anga uniti ndiri mukwasha wake inini pakaiko.
He has returned with the strategy. The strategy is actually recruitment and ensure that this thing actually goes through. But I mean, besides that, there is other big ones now we have come in, because those ones you can even see even these Warakashis. I was on Hulu Space yesterday, and then I heard there are some dignitaries. We are sitting, our big, they are sitting there inside. We need, now you could see now, no, this is now ZANU-PF protocol. Now, it was now we are like in a rally of ZANU-PF now. And we're wondering, say, hey, are we on space here? We are in ZANU-PF rally. You see? And you could hear now even the way now they were conducting themselves. The mood automatically changed. And I said, fuck, what the fuck is this? So, contributing as usual, they tried now to interject. I mean, started complaining. I started telling them, I mean, we have to talk the truth. And they were trying and tell me, I mean, already direct me of what to say, and even trying to say, no, look here, there's protocol here. You've got to respect. I said, no, what the fuck, man? This is space. It's not somebody's parliament or a house. And a politician is not somebody who is supposed to come here and expect to come that I'm going to give him flowers, because he's supposed to be responsible. I mean, we pull no punches. We have to hit below the belt.
Can I just give you my protocol here? Is on the F word. That is my protocol. Actually, must cut it in Iran.
Sorry. Okay. You know, so you could say, you know, the people now who are being released, Vagudama protocols, and Murundi Wandita, I hope you're hearing.
I can hear you. I can hear you. You know, you're good. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Saga, now you could feel, you know, whatever is going on here is that thing of saying, no, bring the dogs out and let them go and heal and hit it there. But I mean, the reality is these are the people who know that they're in a crisis, and I think the diaspora has actually given them a run for their money. That is the reality. Whatever optics that they might try and paint and bring out previous or old pictures and doing whatever, you don't have to lose hope. This is how you win against a person. And when you see them bringing out their big guns, it means that you matter in whatever you are doing. You are not seeing anything wrong from the way that you're asking to know. Am I seeing something wrong? You know, there's nothing wrong here. That is the reality of the situation. You are living the reality, and it shall escalate. It might even escalate to the extent that you might even think that Kudakwashe Tagire might be here and Sudan. Somebody might even tip you. That will show you the level. This is the level of desperation of wanting 2030. And this now will also come with the compromisation of safety and security. Because it will target those ones like you who host these independent spaces, which is a public town square, where people can speak their own thoughts and their own voices. Some will fall, some will take the money. But remember, the moment that you're going to take that money, it comes with consequences. Because it's just like Urasirangozi or whatever a witch does. I mean, in order for them, in order to get to you, they have to find a case and a reason. And the case and the reason is when you receive that money, if you don't have a conscience, take it. If you think that, I mean, you can handle it, go ahead. But we resist it. We have resisted for so long a time. People must learn to resist these things. And it's so easy. You see? So this is what is there. This is what is going on now. These people are trying left, right, and center to defend the legacy. But the legacy that we know is that this is an old man who is trying to leave a will for his children. The same way MK in South Africa is actually being criticized is the same way Mnangagwa is trying to do it for ZANU-PF, if you look at it. Because Dangote uya kuno tizosaina rimwe petrol deal repipeline yani, because already kamuta kune imwe pipeline toziva kuti ndeyani pipeline iyi, ndiye mari dziri kushanda iko zvino kutenga dzimotikari, vanhu vari kutenga petrol yefoundation, mataxis achona achienda ku nakwakunzi Chivayo chiregedza kuya panapa iyoneyo. These two kuda kwacho naChivayo havana international reputation which can actually move a needle. Even if mukati like you were laughing, I mean kuda kwacho is just a joke ingotambiswa ichiswa papa, which way by the end of the day ZANU-PF, when he sees no what is in the opposition or whoever is going to come is actually better than that thing. I'm telling you, that's when they will see you to know whatever we have been doing is wrong. Nekuti kuya kwa Dangote, why would you need him, Dangote? Yet mune munhu mimi who is a billionaire, who is capable of actually putting that line there from Namibia to there. And you billionaire, and you billionaire come Zimbabwe. These are billionaires buying cars for people. They've got the capability of financing that thing there from there to there. But why? And why were they not wanted at that very ceremony, that only ceremony? And yet they are continuing to do whatever they are doing right now. This is when you see that somebody is in control of this thing. Mnangagwa is in control of this thing. And he is trying now to leave his legacy amongst his own children. And this deal was a very big deal, but that because it is a fuel deal. That needs even probably no kana even zvichizoenda kana pa public spotlight, inini I'll be gone. Vana vangu vanofanirwa kusara vachibenefita. That part has got to be kept discreet now from these other charlatans who are not, those two are not worthy. They have to prove their worthiness the moment that they are said now they are sitting maybe in office, in the offices of ZANU-PF. But currently those two are actually setting up the ground and the optics of how they are going to come into power. And with that coming into power, isn't it, we are criticizing them. They will be sharpened, they will have PR people, they will do whatever they will do. But the reality is that no, tatotesta kudara mautonoda iuka uyapana kwatokutomboenda unyango akaidniswa ingaite president. Hapana kwazvinosvika. Anozvifumura anosvika. Kana I doubt that guy akapinda mudiaspora can he stand in front of a white person. Tagwire yakuda kwacho tagwire. Those taught like mama Afrikaners atosangana kuno kwekuti kutanga kuudza kuti this is my company chichi. Unogona kutanga kumudza kuti no within the constitution and the labor law go to it. Enda kwa hello kokwewe esona nada kudzogona. Enda kwa hello. They don't have that spine. These are the boys domalekis aya unozonongana even wamtienda pa global geopolitics. Unotaura kuti maize I need this you can't be doing this. Unongona muna chia uzokudza kuti ngoma ndiyo ngandiendi. Let's continue. These are weak men. And in order for them, these are at least the last bastion, and we are thankful to know they've come out in the open and say, contest or maybe do something against this. And if you are going to fail actually to stand against the politics of Tagwire, let's be honest. That thing is just like, sublime, sulfur. When you put it in a petri dish and you take a stick of matches and then you throw it, boom. Izvezvi mukabata mari yangujedza amsora mukaenda kubawa izvezvi so kana kunight club mukada vasikana vese kana even nemunhu wese munight club kana even kude kuudza DJ nziyo yokuridza munight club imomo mogona kusvika mukaudza kuti okay ridza wingi D wozoridza E woridza E woridza E vakati kudi movha makanda mari movha mati ani mane mari ngakanda iyo mari ndakanda apapo. Nobody will do anything against that. Is being allowed kuti zviitike izvozvo. Makorokoza aizviita futi izvozvo. Waiona bhachi riri mune mwe taxi, iya rimwe mwe taxi, girlfriend iri mune mwe taxi. And that is the thing that is actually happening. That is the thing which is there. So that stuff is retained, which, and it used to happen when the economy was collapsing. But now it's being brought now with the optics of saying, look here. Because remember, this is a guy, akatora my businesses, and over yes, pari. And with money, that is power. There's power that resides in money. There's power that resides on a seat. He's got the seat, this guy. That's power. And those who lived in Midlands and other areas where he was actually a member of the constituencies, and even those we experienced in Matebeleland, we are now reliving those experiences, not on those constituencies levels. No, this is now at a national level. Those mudas that we experienced were during the youth league. They were like dogs which were kept here by Napoleon and over the Kurisi, but now they've been unleashed. Now they are older. They can handle constitutional matters and national matters. These are the guys who say resolution number 1 from Mberi. And this is the guy who actually reared these guys and actually looked after them. They are only paying homage. These are the guys who are actually controlling power in the system. And there are also guys behind the big men who are actually also pushing the buttons there. Some of the optics are very open. The guys who actually benefit to do bigger infrastructural projects or stuff like that and stuff like this. This other one, yes, is just being left to say, no, listen, you're supposed to be left here to do whatever my family, because my family is supposed to control this country. My family is supposed to run these 2 pipelines because we've got fuel, a strategic, important commodity, which is very good for development. And those things have got to be protected at whatever cost, at whatever level. This is the game that is being played here. Whoever tries to challenge that system, or whatever, because he is in control of the seat. He is in control of the money. The seat comes with other apparatuses. No, this apparatus, I can actually control it to this level and put it in this direction and actually exert it within my own constituency to subdue. But one of the things that ZANU-PF does is that it paints optics at the same time, while it's actually antagonizing the reality. Look here, these people are rejoining ZANU-PF, all of them. They can put yesterday pictures. Look here, this criminal tried to bomb his own house and he was caught now with these things now in South Africa. Look here, people are rejoining ZANU-PF, so the democracy is going on. And then, because we want the constitution to go on, violence can be inflicted. But the optics can actually be happening nicely outside there. This is how it's actually played in ZANU-PF and how they play this game. This thing of trying to verify and do what. Sometimes I'm sorry, I'm not saying you, Ryuji. I always hear people saying, because it's a system that was brought in Evarakashi, put the evidence there. Number 1, it's supposed to be incriminating. Put the evidence there. Without Mangwana, if they decide now to take action against you or your family, or institute any penalty measures, a system which they learned in Mozambique, because in Mozambique, should your family go against the government, even employment, when you finish school, you'll never get it for the rest of your life. Your family and your children will suffer. This is the system that is actually being implemented. But suffering now comes at the expense of your house. It might be you being beaten, it might be whatever. These were things which were started long time ago in Midlands. And in the long run, what happened? Emerson lost. And the same person who made him lose is the same person actually is now actually sitting in ZANU-PF with Chebundo. Listen, what did the people do which is actually different from whatever is happening now? Now it's a different generation. The generation which experienced this at that particular point in time is outside, and some of it is actually part of you, the system that is actually crying with issues which were actually perpetrated against them, which now they're trying to debunk and saying, no, it never happened like this, like this, like that. Because you can erase narratives. Narratives can be erased in history from generation to generation. If they're not captured, they can be erased. So now it's now bringing now a new narrative now of saying, listen, the economy was never there. You can now start rebuilding your own economy. But as you are rebuilding economy, let me show you what we can do. They will bring you a gold smuggler who was once arrested at the border there. He's driving a Rolls Royce. He's got a $300,000 watch, and he is working for the system. Prices Rolls Royce. I mean, our people are suffering. They're in poverty. Who doesn't want that? Tomorrow, when he's driving there, when he goes and he parks there and he starts giving the boys some money and he wants them to do some violent things, maybe he wants them to pay them $1,000. They are thugs, these people. They will do that and they will get whatever they want. So you need to change your strategies by the end of the day. You need people who stand on the truth, number one. You need to tell the reality, number two. You need to actually to change your strategies and ensure that they prevail. Because it's not within the locality only to how you can stop 2030. You have also now to look at your strengths. Because you are fighting something here. And how you counter it, you need all your people and you need all institutions within or without, in the country and outside the country, in order to win this. Whatever efforts that it wants to gain or mileages that it wants to gain, sometimes you have to try and thwart those efforts, despite the fact that you can be called a terrorist by that system. It takes people with balls of steel, people who are not afraid to compromise that. I mean, to say this system, no matter whatever it's going to do within these constituents, we can stop it. We can do this. Because you can see the level of its fear. Because if a system is going as far as actually planting dynamite in somebody's car who is outside the country, if it's willing to transgress over the foreign policy of another country to go and do this out in the open, it's not it's not playing the system. Because the next level, you become free and you continue such activities. We are reaching the levels of the habit chitepos. Because what could have stopped those dynamites actually to say, okay, there might be a fuse somewhere which has actually been ignited, and then tomorrow, kaboom, you're gone. You have to anticipate such measures coming into play. Because if that system is showing you that this we are capable of doing, yes, fear it, yes, you can lose your life. But does it mean, things have got to stop just because you've lost your life? And does it mean that you don't have to stop this system just because it's inflicting public safety and security measures? During the Chebundo times, when Mnangagwa enforced violence on the Midlands, people complied and said, okay, fair and fine, you want us in the ZANU-PF rallies, we'll come to the ZANU-PF rallies. They went. You know, a person ends up having that self-grandeur of saying, yeah, you see me, I'm doing this. But because during that time, they had not actually perfected the rigging mechanism. Enter MDC. Bah, let's go and vote. The man loses. He becomes a disgrace. He runs to his father, Robert Gabriel Mugabe, because he was his henchman. That's why you see the relationship was not easy. He was the trigger man for the old man. It was not easy. Papa, I'm back. Okay, what do you want? Okay, Papa, I need another mean. I can't just go and sit at home, now become the Speaker of Parliament. Nonsense. That was how it was. But now with this money optics playing, it requires the people to sit down and actually start putting the right messages across and actually telling the truth and the reality of the situation. You have to unmask. You are lucky if there's two systems actually existing whereby the generals are actually finding it. Even themselves, they are compromised in terms of public safety and this, because this is where you are supposed to be happy. This is where we are supposed to be happy as an opposition, to say at least they know that they're even their own public safety and is compromised. Because remember, the power that is on that seat, this army is also its tool. But having the advantage that we have got currently in this particular situation, it requires people who can think, who can discern, who can look into the future and say, which Zimbabwe do we want here? Are we going to have a Zimbabwe with decent ZANU-PF people who are going to be constitutionalists? Or we are going to sit with ZANU-PF people who want a monarchy which shall detect, which we know we won't have a right or a say to anything? This is your 23rd agenda. And there is some camp which is constitutionalist. I'm not saying no, join whatever. If 2028 goes and we're going to 2030, which means we don't have elections, so there's no more time to get there. No, time lost is never gained. You can't go back to your youth. You can never cry for your youth. It's gone, it's gone. Otherwise, kuna sekuru vanopengereka kana vakawana sweet 16. Kana sekuru vanenge vambonamata stereki vachiona Mwari asinganingirikire vasingapindure, but musi vanozonzi naMwari nda kupindura. And then the day he goes and starts going into a pub and dancing to that music coming from, I'm telling you, you won't think it, when Jedza said to him, come for a job, you won't think, no, it's not God who answered him. You think that it's Jedza who answered him. And you'll be eating that money, mambas race. So this is such a case, this is such a scenario. So many things are happening, and this is what is going to happen. Because if you remember from the 80s, Chaiko, the build up to the fall of the Soviet Union empires and these Eastern countries, the athletes used to be escorted for fear of defection to the West. Why? Because the Soviet Union was actually controlled within the Soviet Union. So on the Olympic stages, even if you saw those gymnastics, because they were some of the best, it was one of the best countries in gymnastics, you'd find there were always guys who are guarding these athletes. And these people ended up defecting because they knew that to defect and say the truth about the Soviet Union, you are giving secrets and information. So the moment if you try to defect, or if you manage to defect, what they will do is they'll go and tell you they are killing your mother, or they are putting them in a gulag, in a jail. And some of those what you call athletes who were weak, or poets and whatever, would return only to be incarcerated or to be abused. These are people who learned such systems. So you've got to understand where ZANU-PF comes from. Who was the architect and where did he learn of such systems? Kuti kwaizokwaenda kuudza kuti kwai zvataurwa kunzi kwai ndiudze munhu azviita kana azvitaura. It's not an issue when you're dealing in these platforms. When it's there, it's there. And I know the moment if I say yes, zvakatagwa naningi, ndichadodzwa nonzi okay, handi unotaridza kwachona unogara Jedza, because iwo wazvibvuma. And the Jedza wachona hako, umwe munhu anofanira kunge achiziva kwaanogara must actually be taken, ndonofanira kuratidza kuna Jedza until this chain yapera yese yevanhu aya. Ndopanozoti ashamwari watengesa ka, but despite that fact, this system learned all the secret intelligence, and this is how you control a people. The only thing that they can't control mostly is these spaces like in the diaspora. This is where you've got your strength, your opportunities. This is where you are a threat, because you have managed for these hospitals to be changed, to be turned around. You have managed to make it fair to accept everything that is called for. But if you look at Gule for ED, what value is it adding to the system? What are their roles and responsibilities? Top soup for ED. Okay, these are young young ladies with young boys. I mean, they are beautiful. So what are their roles and responsibilities from 2025 until 2030? Now they've got to go to protect the party. How do they protect the party? The party will give them money. And they've got to defend that constitution. How? You've got to prove your loyalty to the party. How do you prove your loyalty to the party? You've got to transcend yekuti kana jedza avari angu vangu kandapuwa mari yoga. If he starts talking shit about 2030, ndogona kutomura nebhodhoro. Because ndakadya mari. Ndakatopikira. Ndokura nebhodhoro. Ndonoripotwa kupolice station. Ndaripotwa kupolice station. I called the commissar or whoever kuti ainzwai munzi chef. Ndasungwa ndiri kunoka ku. Tomorrow you're out. But my docket kana ndakuuraya kana ndakurova richatogwa. Roniswa mucabinet. Rinovharirwa. Ita zvaunoda aiwa itaita pana zvavanokuitaita iwe mwenokwana munhu wese inoita jedza itaita shanda ita zvauri kuda. Ai sekuri ndaneta ina aiwa nanjazvigoni izvizvi aiwa nandichadinda kunamata ini sekuri aiwa muprofita Magaya akandiudza akati ndikasachinja ndoufa.
Namunhu waMwari.
Wauda kundijairira manje, wauda kuenda kuchechi kupa ukosha zvinhu zvawakadya iwo zvakabva kupiwe.
Vakaiba. Aiwa, thank you.
Unokosha kuti nenyaya yedhoketi.
Thank you very much nekuchibata. Thank you very much. But guys, kana pane vamwe vada kutaura make my request. I see there's a Dijon Lee. Right. Kana pane vamwe vada kutaura vanhu vaMwari chiuyai. Sorry, ndiri kumboita something saka ndasiya hangu mukoma vanhu vachitaura. Vamboita basa kuti zvokutamba. No, veteran wacho.
Anditi mama ndizari
You are turning out to be all veterans. All veterans of the struggle. But thank you very much. I do appreciate. I appreciate. Right. Yeah. Saka, okay. Ngatishiki manya and mberi. Dijon Lee, how you doing? Mr. Lee.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you very much, for holding, and thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome.
Right. Give us your take. What's your take on the issues that we are discussing today?
Yeah, ndoti speaker wangu zvavatonditaurira zvese zvakawanda vabva kutaura panyaya yezvezano-zano izvi zvangaichito zvavanga vachitaura sezvavambotaura kuti mukoma vedu ava vekwachivhaya ava vakaonikidzwa vane godhi raiweta mari yakawanda mamillions yakangotsikwa-tsikwa haina tomboisisika kuti yakapera nepi nyaya. Takangokaruka tangoona munhu kuti munhu atova nefreedom ava kutouya achitongojoina musangano zvichitongurawo kuti ZANU-PF ikutongoshandisa zvesimba ravo kuti vaite pacha vachibatsirana vachipromota corruption neo-thugs. And
right.
Makatarisa kupa kunana Tagurei vanotagura toshamsiti ndiane ndiane toangodechipape bozanainstructure yanoika kumaforeign countries innocent estimate kwaari because nemasanctions avakaita chake angori chipape chinenge chikuita itongori zvichitongora kuti ZANU-PF ikutongokangasa nyange masecurity nyange kusecurity yevanhu because nyange vari kuprotesta futi kazvibatsiri futi because vada kuprotesta futi army inodeclarewa vanhu safety hamuna mukana munyika, hamuna freedom speech yekuti muprotesta. Ndopa example kuna naAmerica, Trump pakandotanga kukondesta pakatanga ta president paya kana muchira kurangarira vanhu vachinji vanga vasingamudi pakaita demonstration yakaitika ipo paya maAmericans vachipisa mabuildings and stuff zvoratidza kuti nyika iri democracy vanonzwisisa munhu yakutoshanda yatova dictatorship haukwanisi kuzviita izvo hauna freedom yekutoti kana pakanzi election 2028 hapana hauraiti kuti mutingoma pasiyasi muchiita vandaliza zvinhu muchiita everything zvamoita apart mune every citizen yemuno muZimbabwe zvokuti nyange pakangodzi panguva yetrack remasozi nyange muchiprotesta mototiza mise muchiipoza mune makogara makangoiswa fiye kare hamukwanisi kuexpressa zvamuda munge tichikuitisa zvepapeti kana vakati jump isi tichingojamba haukwanisi kutaura zvaunongoiona semaonero enyika kuti nyika inofanira kuita so zvakadai so zvakadai so zvakadai so zvakadai so ivo pachavo zvinenge zviri right because vanenge chavanoda ndo zvavanenge vachida kuti zvavo zvingotaura kuti ZANU-PF ndisakakati if you can them join them vanoziva kuti vanhu cho zvakati akaita sei vanhu vachinotonga ethindi vachatouya kungoti joina kuti ZANU-PF imwe munhu wese I think ndo zvakwanisa kutaura izvizvi
handitika aiwa ndinotenda mukoma, thank you very much. Apologies panga sound yenyanga isina nyatsomira ndingi zvakanaka, but I'm quite inengeita manager angu kufollowa what you were saying and I'm quite sure vanhu vese vanoziva kufollowa zvavanga vari kutaura. Right, Zvara Champion, how are you? And welcome to the space.
Ndeipi Mkwasha, unofara here?
Muse muri sei?
Ndofara ini. Naye Mkwasha, haumbondiudze here kuti nyaya yepublic safety and public security yaita sei?
Manje zvaita sei manje? Maendepi kunhaite Zvara? Isaimwe request tikuunzei back. Ndofunga network yenyu yadonha. Yeah, but kunavo vachangotibata. Ndinokuchingamizai kuchirongwa. Pandanga ndiri kutaura pana introducer topic inoyo, ndambobata zvakawanda. Asi nyaya yangu yanga iri ndeyekuti tinzwisise kuti muZimbabwe chaimo chinhu chinonzi public safety nechinhu chinonzi public security. Ndiri kuona ini maringe andiri kuita inini nemaonero andiri kuita hakutina, especially kune vanhu vari kuopoza yatinoti 2030 agenda iya, avo vari kumira pamberi paforefront vachimhanya nechinhu ichi. As always munokuziva kuti ihistory yavo vanhu ava, kuti kana paine chinhu chavada kumbunyikidza, chavada kumanikidzira pane vanhu, vanoshandisa chisimba. Ende kune avo vanoratidzira kuti izvi hatisi kutenderana nazvo, vanopedzisira vamwe vacho varasikirwa kana neupenyu chaiwo, kana kurasikirwa nepropati yavo. Zvinova ndo zvimwe zvatakuona zvaakuitika. Ndapa maexample ekubhombwa kwakaitwa Sapese Trust mapremises. Kutotorera munhu property yake, kutoratidza kuti izo property yako iyi haikwanisike kuchengetedzeka under this hurumende. Nekuti dai yaikwanisika kuchengetedzeka under this hurumende, nhasi uno tingadai takutoziva kuti izvo chii chakaitika ipapo. But in some ways vakuda kutopomera mumwe wakanga ari munhu aifanira kunoadresa ipapo kuti anogona kunge ari kuziva kuti izvo nhingi zvakafamba sei, anova ari ani honorable nhingi Jobs Guy. Saka ndo uno havo ndo maitiro ava vari kuita, avo vanhu vari kuti izvoni no to 2030 avo ndangoti kumana fambai makangwara, fambai makangwara, nokuti patasvika ndofunga handiri munza kuti izvo nhingi vakapanana deadline yekuti by September next year vanenge vatopedza kare nezvekuti 2030 agenda izvi zvinenge zvatova in place before vaenda kunext congress kwavo, vari kutoexpecta nemaresults. Saka nguva ino yatava vanhu vaMwari kubva nguva ino kusvika ipapo pacho pavari kutarisira, pavane tarisiro yekuti vachange vachidzokera kunopa ripoti, panogona kuita kugeda-geda kwemeno. Nekuti ndiri kuona vanhu vacho havasi kudzora tsvimbo, ende assault yacho iri kuitika iri kuuya from different angles. It's coming from different angles. Vane vanhu vavari kurecruita, vanhu vari kutaura zvakanaka pamusoro pezviri kuitika. Vamwe vacho vari kutaura zvakanaka kuti izvo nhingi vadyare mhodzi mukati mamuri, kudyara mhodzi mukati mamuri yekukuudzai kuti uyu ndiye anoita, uyu haaite. Ndo zvimwe zvacho nhingi zviri kuitika. Saka anyway, Tezara Nyambiro, thank you very much for coming back. Take the mic.
Mukwasha, ndandichitovhunza nyaya yekuti tinyatso kuenzesa zvakanaka tiudzane kuti zvamuri kutaura nyaya yepublic safety and public security inoclassifyiwa in economic terms as what is called public goods. So if you are now telling me that I do not have security, I do not have safety, while you are taking my taxes and collecting them and enjoying them, what does that mean to a taxpayer? Because I am not looking at anything. I'm looking at my public safety that is guaranteed in the Constitution, that should be respected no matter what. So if there is an issue now to say I do not have public safety and I do not have public security, it means myself as well as a taxpayer, the only thing that I have to do is to cease paying that tax too, so that we see who is going to benefit by the end of the day. Because you can't collect something. Remember, even if I wanted to bring in the issue of like a contract. Remember, a contract here, it's an agreement between two or more people. That has got that is going to create a rights and obligations, right? If you take my tax, there's an obligation that you have to bring back that tax and adding value to it. So you can't take a tax from people, collect taxes from people. By the end of the day, you are not even also bringing services back, or you're not bringing anything back. So it means there's now a problem. And once that contract has been broken, it will be difficult to repair. Remember, right now we do have got issues that we still have got issues about illegitimacy, because remember, the issue of saying I have entrusted you with power to act, to lead or to act on my behalf doesn't mean that you have got more power than me, right? Kudzinzipakata hakusi kunziridza. Saka iwo kavapakatisa simba rokuti okay, imimi muchacollecta tax on our behalf. Macollecta tax, you should be able to bring it back, making everything right, and so forth. I think it becomes a problem here, and it becomes a problem, and this becomes a big problem. How it becomes a big problem? Because if you haven't performed your obligations, you still owe me, you still owe us. So by the end of the day, it will bring in issues. The fact that there is no guaranteed public safety, there is no guaranteed public security, what does that brings into the country? We will end up having a war between the taxpayer and the government. And by the end of the day, one will be eliminated. No matter how someone sees himself as powerful, by the end of the day, one would fall. Hakuna vanhu vanowina vari vaviri. Even mukatamba bhora pane uchawina, pane uchaluza. Handiti? Kana kuti tinodrowa. But kudrowa means tiri kudzokera patafura totanga kutaurirana kuti no, chamuri kuita ichi hachiti. But by the end of the day, I do say, once something is a public good, remember, public good, you cannot eliminate me from a public good. Izvozvi mvura ikanaya, mvura, it's a public good to everyone. It's a worldwide good. Ikanaya, pairi kunaya mu Southern Africa, tinewana tese. Haisi yokuti zvanzi ichanaya panhingi, yombosiya Mwari womboti ano, ndichanayisa mvura pamba panhingi, pamba paX handichanayisi, ndombodarikira ndomboenda uko, aiwa, hakuna zvakadaro. So I think these guys, they have to take seriously to say, if public safety and security is a public good, what should be done? You need to provide it, even if you don't feel like it's necessary to us, because that's what is there. That is your role as a government. Government is there to provide public good, some of the public goods, roads, because we use all of us. With even tourists who are not from our country, they have to use it, right? You do have got public order and security. It's a public good that is known world all over. So when someone comes now and say, no, I'm not going to protect the citizens, I'm not going to do this, he should be mindful of what he is trying to do. Because once that trust between the two people have been broken, it becomes a problem. And that problem is not going to be solved by having the same political party that has failed to uphold the public, to produce public goods and services. It becomes a problem. So they have to think, I don't know how they have to think about it, but they should now start thinking about it to say, what do we mean? I know that themselves, they believe in chaos, and say, no, if we are going to have chaos, we will have any time to attack. But there is no guaranteed winner in this war they are trying to bring in. Handiziva hangu kuti tinosiyana, because vamwe vanofunga kuti vachiri vanana, but vari kutadza kuziva kuti vane ma 82 years, 85 years, right? And vanana vacho futi, they are also failing to think one thing. Kana vakuru vamunotamba navo vakaenda, munosara nani? Who is going to guarantee you your safety, your amnesty, your exemption from anything, your immunity too. So think about it in a critical way of thinking, critically analyzing it on your own, bringing both sides on the table to say, okay, if by September next year, in January 2026, makutonzi matova panhova hamuchakwanisi kufamba, imi muchikarira 2030 yenyu yamuri kukarirai, munozosvika kupi? Because there is no one who has got a guarantee yeupenyu hwamangwana. So anybody who comes here and trying to say, no, but this and that, guys, hamusi kuziva kuti muna January kuchaitei, hamusi kuziva kuti muna February kuchaitei. And it, at least isusu tichine kabiti yeka life expectancy, tinema more than 10 years ye life expectancy. There seems to be a guarantee somewhere somehow. What about vanhu vakwegura wokuti unoziva kuti life expectancy yake haisisipo, yangova yefeja feja? I think these guys vari kufunga sevanhu vari kufunga hamene zvimwe zvavari kufunga, because hamuna guarantee yokuti mune power, hamuna guarantee futi yokuti mune musina power. So what do you need to do? Batai vanhu zvakanaka, provide public goods amunofanira kuprovide. If you are part of a government, whether you are illegitimate or you are not illegitimate, at this point when we talk about delivering of public goods or production of public goods, we are not looking at the issue of illegitimacy or legitimacy. We are looking at the obligation that a government should do. So they have to be serious, and they have to make sure that they understand what are they doing, because at one point in time it will be a problem, right? And there is no guarantee that one day these soldiers can be able to deal with everyone. These police officers will be able to deal with everyone. What if they are going to fail to contain the people? What is going to happen? Because once you have crossed the Rubicon or the red line, it will be difficult for you to go back to that red line. So somewhere, somehow, yes, of course, we have got dreams. We have got whatsoever. We have got everything that we think about. That we dream sitting and dying in power. You can die in power, but you don't have a guarantee that your sons and your daughters and whoever, and even your nieces, your nephews, they are going to be so powerful than you, or they are going to be in power. So be mindful of what you are trying to bring. Be mindful also of enemies that you are going to create by the end of the day. I don't know, but they just have to figure it out on their own. Which way do they want to take, right? At this point, it's not take or leave it, because we will reach that point where it becomes now take it or leave it, and both sides will have consequences. So they have to think in a way that enables them, guarantee them something better, right? But like what I have said, I consider that these guys, they understand these things well, but at the same time, they should be able to think about what if, because it is that what if that gives you a decision that is better. What if you are not going to have power? Do you think it's only you who need power, like you, there's no one else who need power like you, right? Is that what they are trying to say? If that is the case, let them think about the what if. What if people revolt and no one will listen to them? They have to think about that. What if right now we understand they may try to use these tankers and whatsoever, but most of those tankers are outdated. What if those tankers are going to be malfunctioning? What is going to happen? So each and every day, someone has to think about this, to say, okay, you know what? I am perceiving myself as being too powerful. But at the same time, what if those ones who are making me powerful, who are massaging this power to be what it is, are not going to be there? What is going to happen? I don't know how someone think, but it is someone who think better, who understands what needs to be done, because by the end of the day, you need people to pay taxes. You need people to, they are sacrificing their resources when things are so hard, right? Right now, it is very, very hard, because by the end of the day, even a diasporan needs a bit of some disposable income, but is managing to send something home through Mukuru, and someone is even also charging Mukuru to say, oh, you are taking this from our own citizens, so you need to pay tax. There will be a time when that tax is not going to be there. So they have to think. I don't know how they have to think like, but it's whatever it is. If they think that, okay, you know what, we need to force people to pay tax, then by the end of the day, one day you will pay for it with your family, with your friends, those ones that you like, tell yourself that, hey, you guys, you don't have to retire, just die here in power, just die as a chief justice, just die as an army commander in power. They will pay it. If
But Nkoma Champion, it's not I want to interject you or something else, because it's not I mean, you said anything wrong, no. But you just touched on something, because sometimes I end up losing some of my train of thought when you say things and then I don't actually catch you before you go. You see, like what Uncle Jedza is saying. Uncle Jedza said, now the modus operandi has changed. They are bringing out the big guns now to come to the diaspora. I actually experienced it yesterday. I was actually on what you call it, on Hulu Space yesterday, because this is where actually, if you remember very well, this is where you scored actually a victory against ZANU-PF, which was actually an embarrassment and a show to say that 2030 can be stopped. That is a sign to the people at home to say justice is possible in a society. Not this justice whereby you are going to be a for ED. It is painting a picture to say you can actually victimize this person, but how come now this system can actually make this person go scot-free? You are actually accusing this person. So now you touched on the thing of the diaspora remittances, which is something which is a big chunk of the money that is actually being currently used and which was actually stolen. Now with 2030 ED being drummed up, and like what Uncle Jedza is saying right now, could the big guns are out, beware of being divided, beware of what can come on. Don't you think that now they are afraid that now we are almost also at a point whereby we know if they are going to escalate this 2030, we can use the tool of withdrawal of remittances, because that's $2 billion bucks to a 6% zero revenue economy. We know that they've got nothing. There's nothing there. Can you please help us with how can we actually institute this thing of diasporas? We need actually to ensure that public safety and whatever, because one thing that we have seen is we know that they react when we institute measures. That one is a fact. Either it's a time that we have, we need your advice. Is it a time for us to withdraw our consent?
It's remember, there's another way. If they are getting money in forms of money, in terms of electronic balances as diaspora remittance, what if bring again the word what if everyone here start to say, no, you know what, let's go barter. Right? When I'm saying let's go barter, I'm saying let's go barter trade. Instead of you sending money, you buy goods wherever it is necessary. Right? By the end of the day or by the end of the year, that money is what the balances have diminished. Right? And what does that mean? You no longer have got enough cash where to raid and whatsoever. I know that maybe they will respond like raiding and so forth, but remember as well, we are living in a digital era where things can be done through the phones. So it becomes another illicit activity that they will be promoting. If the people of Zimbabwe are eager to go that length, you can also use a wallet to do that. It's not only that you can send money to Zimbabwe. You can have your guy who has got money. The only thing that needs to happen is that that person must not be known that this is the person who has got money. What do? You just send him to say, go to my parents and give them money. This side is where I deposit money in this account, and you get that money outside the country. And when you get there, there is no money that is now going through Mukuru, that is going through which one is that Mama Money? Which one? There's another one. I forgot the name of another one. Right? You can even saying each and every time you no longer even sending money, you just send goods to Zimbabwe. All right, you send your monthly grocery, you send your annual grocery and everything. By the end of the day, what are you trying to do? You are trying to circumvent the a raiding of money. I know that at some point we may not fully go back into history and look at it to say, look, these guys, they once raided RBZ, right, in 2008. And that money was used to buy Bakosi and so forth. So they can do it because they once did it. So don't take them for granted. Just know them, you know their attitudes. But it is you now we have to come up with a solution. Because by the end of the day, you want your mother to be happy. You want your grandparent to be happy. What do? You use other channels. Right? There is a lot of people who are doing a lot of things out there, who are even making it possible to send money without even sending your money to Zimbabwe, to your Mukuru and whatsoever. But the only thing that is needed there is how do you make it happen by the end of the day. So this diaspora remittance, it can be stopped at any time when someone says to himself, "Know what? I am tired of financing people who are useless, who have no shame." Because after getting your taxes, instead of them providing you with public goods, because safety is public good, right? It's a public service. Security is a public service. Order is a public service. It should be provided, no matter how evil someone is. That's why you see that if you understand very well, America protects its own citizens. South Africa protects its own citizens. Besides political affiliation and so forth. Why are they doing that? Because it is their duty, it is their obligation. So if they are saying to you, there is no longer guarantee that you have got public safety and public security, why are you paying tax? That's where the issue is. So everyone now have to stop paying tax. And the number of people that are paying tax, you may find that it's just a few plus those individual companies. So if you can mobilize, if you can try to block that channel, where are they going to get money? That's what you have to think about, and that's what everyone have to think about. I can give you an example to say, look at it properly right now. To say, when you look at South Africa, The only people that are paying in tax in South Africa, do you know that it's 3.4%? Without including companies. When you bring companies, the number of taxpayers in South Africa, it's less than 7 million, which is supporting 60 million of the population. If you look at the number of grants that are being paid in South Africa, they are being paid because they are collecting taxes from 990 people who are earning more than 250,000 rand right now. If those people can just say Yima, it's a Yima and it's gone. So right now, when you look at South Africa, you look at its own issues, its own problems, and so forth. You can't raise tax because the more you raise tax, the more people evade tax. The same applies as well to Zimbabwe. The more you want to raise tax right now, the more people evade it, boycott to pay tax at all. That's why you see that informality in Zimbabwe is thriving. Why is it thriving? Because you have put a lot of taxes that have nothing to do with income. So this economy is at a tipping point. So that now needs you and me. What do we have to do as a people? If we can say we are not going to pay tax because you have said on your own, using your own mouth, you are not going to provide public safety and public security, which are public services that should be provided no matter what. What does that mean? No tax. Tiona kuti munonotenga mota dzacho dzamuri kutenga nokuovercharge ma-government tenders, muno-overcharge kupi. Because once that money is withdrawn, there is no money coming from anywhere. The only money that you may now have is money from your own companies, right? If you have got companies yourself as politicians, the money that is remaining is money coming from you. And I know that you don't like that money to be misused. So what is going to happen by the end of the day? That's why I said once you have crossed the Rubicon, you have to know that this territory that I have entered, it's now touch and move. Once you touch it, you move. Both sides, there are consequences. So they have to think in a way that enable them that, you know what, tomorrow we need this, tomorrow you need what. But it's just me saying whatever I'm saying. Let's leave it there. Thank you so much.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, for that. I appreciate. Can I go to Zero? Zero, how you doing?
Angu Masera say.
Mwisho murboe mkombo.
Ndiri boy. Ndiyo history ya security ya mimi nayo. So for me, I just want to, for the current one, I'm not that much privy. I only see so much on social media on how these police, how unsafe we are. It seems like it has become this ways. But if I recall very well, when I was still this little boy in rural areas some time ago, police, like we were scared of police because during that time, vanhu vanosunga mombe netugongoro vachisunga tumadhongi nechi. When you were using those zvimangoro izvozvo muchifamba ka, waiti makasangana nemapurisa apa maindi kumamusha kumasango chaiko. During that time, if you meet the police along the way and there's nobody in front of the donkeys, walking in front of the donkeys, all of you makagara mchunguru, you were going to be in trouble. And these people, they used to beat people just because of that. Even the Scotch cat is not even running, it's just moving slowly, going wherever your business. They will beat you for that. So these are the kind of how unsafe we were during this time. They had their own people that they respected, these police. So when now from my rural time going to town and see how these people were always standing by the road, always aiming to collect people's money. It became very clear to me long ago that we were not safe at all from these security people. I just felt like these people have been against us since, but during that time it wasn't that amplified like the way they are doing it now, that if there is somebody who is fighting against a certain thing, now they will come and do something. Now they are more of a threat, but they have been like this for a very long time. Because as far as I remember, these people used to beat. I remember one of my brothers, he got beaten by these guys in front of my eyes because they were just sitting in the scotch cart. So these people have been abusers for a very long time. So another thing that I wanted to speak about is this 2030 agenda that they are doing, financing the cars. So I have a question to all these celebrities or all these people who are getting cars. Are these people very much sure that the cars that are being donated to them, they are not bugged? Are they sure that nobody is listening to them or nobody is tracking them where they go or whatever modus operandi they do? Like, how sure are they, these people, that these cars are safe enough for them to have their own conversation, to go wherever they want to go without being traced? So another question comes, so what if these people, they are doing this 2030 agenda that they are trying to advance? So what if this thing, whatever they are doing, succeed? And they say in the future, in 2024, in 2025, we gave you a car which was of value of 50,000. Now the value of the car is 60,000. We need you to pay the man back. Are they going to be safe? Will they be able to pay the money back? Because they won't say bring the car back because they know the car have lost the value. So they'll ask you, will you be able to pay those 60,000, 20,000 of the cars that they are taking? Because these people, they can't be trusted. They destroyed the economy. One, they are now trying to come to act like angels, giving people cars. Then what if tomorrow they changed and said, we gave you the car of this value, now we want this amount of money back? Will they be able to pay these cars? Because I just feel like these people, we are just being used. As soon as their agenda is successful, they will come back again because they want they want those things back. So that's it's just a question to those who received the car, if whoever has the answer to that, if they will be sure about that. And another question is, so what if this 2030 agenda succeed? What are we gonna do as the people? What's gonna happen to us? Because I have struggled so much, like personally myself. I have a bachelor's degree in actuarial science as well as a master's degree in mathematical statistics. But I've struggled to find a job in South Africa because of this foreign thing and permit stuff and all those kind of things. So what's going to happen to us? Because some of us, the other option is like, but if I go back home, maybe I will find something. But with the current thing that is happening, I'm finding it very difficult if I will be able to survive when I go back home. Where will I start? So if this 2030, that agenda that they're advancing, if it happens, because I have like zero hope in those people that they will tend to try and revive the economy. Because those people, they will just, what they think is just like, where are the riches? Then we go collect, we destroy it, we take what we can, we move to the next one. So where they destroyed, they don't look back to come and try to fix or to come and create something. When they destroy a mountain, they don't even think of building a dam. So they just destroy and leave everything like that. So that's my contribution, Ango. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for that. Mofe Mkono, Rabudame. Mofe Mkono Muribera. Mofe Mkono Angasibo. Right, guys, pane wangu wachida kutaura here. Munogona kumbira mail. Otherwise, tinozorora hedu. Vakaipa. Right. What is it I wanted to do?
Saka imofunga kuti mabig guns ari kude chiyambo chete.
Mabig guns.
Hmm.
Mabig guns are pusha kaningi agenda. It's just to now sort of you see when you get you know like when you get ningi varakasha nditi. When varakasha are doing their thing, vachipusha zvanenge vachipusha. Vanenge va establish MO yekuti ma-foot soldiers man nema-runners handiti ende vanhu vamwe vacho vanhu vanenge vachinzi vanhu vari kushandira ma$10 vari kubatsirwa ma$10 vari sei. Saka when you get the big guns now, those that do not need the $10, it sends there's a certain message that speaks to your psyche yekuti iwewe you begin to think in some sort of way. Because varakashi tatobvira tatonga kuti vanoshandira nema$10. How about those vekuti vanenge vaine twavo vasi kushandira ma$10? Their message, how does it appeal kune uyoyo ari kuudzwa something nemunhu waari kuziva kuti munhu iyeye ane kaposition yakaike nhingi kainako kari abhavhu nhingi kungorakasha. Because varakashiningira tonga kuti ava vanhu vanongorakasha ava vane chiiko ava vangomirira ma-donations ava. Uyu kuti atodhiraivhawo mota aiwa donation, kuti atodhiraivhawo mota donation. Ko ava vasi kudhiraivha motikari donation. You understand? So I want to believe kuti is just taking it to another level in terms of their conscientizing or in terms of selling their idea. Unzwa? Because mimi mukazimara maziva kuti hana nhingi. And muona kuti zvanhu zvakafanana kuti look at how they are capturing musicians handiti. Mukarata the way that they captured musicians kuti musicians ane levels ekupiwa zvinhu. Top nhingi musicians vanopiwa top of the nhingi motikari nhingi saka zvinge zvichidzika. Vamwe vacho vakutoona kuti saka inini ndikapindawo apa but pane level rangu randiropindawo and anenge akatotarisira kuti izvo palevel rake raapinda iroro anenge akupiwawo something. Saka you are finding kuti izvo the diversification yacho yezvinhu zvavari kuita is bound to want to appeal to different demography and dzemunyika. Kuti the young people, the women, the chi targeting yacho iyoyo is trying to create that social capital that will stand behind the 2013 agenda. But iye kunza ma-big guns manje is to then reinforce the idea. Because you ukaona munhu ari big gun wokuti uyu munhu ari kudai onzwa ari kutaurira message iyi, kana uri munhu ari weak pakufunga, you take it their word as the gospel truth. Munzwa zvakafanana nekuti I saw imwe analysis yaitwa pamessage yakaiswa na Ace Lumumba. Ace Lumumba paari kutaura kuti izvo ZANU-PF and the coming in of Tagwire has galvanized ZANU-PF zvokuti they've captured Harare. Harare is the only town or is the only constituent or is the only Ningirikini province yavanga vari kutambudzika nayo yekuti izvo vanga vasingawine ma-elections. Maharare vanga vasina mukana kuhwina kwavakaita ma-elections as a result of creating ma-constituency evanhu vanodyara imo makaita sana Harare South. You understand? But then, if you then look at the voting pattern in yemuZimbabwe, ZANU-PF kuwa hablawayo vatozoitora iko zvinezvi nenyaya yekuti izvo marecords akaitwa nechibhubhubhu chakazongoitika ikoko kuti but the major towns emuZimbabwe ZANU-PF yanga isina nhingi do kubulawayo chaiko chaiko since the year 2000 ZANU-PF yanga isina do. You understand? But what the message is, look at what is happening, in Harare. Ukaona Harare zvairi kuitwa kai. Saka ZANU-PF inenge yatotora nyika yese. You understand? Kuti yatotora saka zvokuitika muHarare zvakutoitikawo nenge kuna naBulawayo. Saka that kind of messaging iri kuitwa iyoyo, it's kind of making or wanting to get people to think in some kind of way. And iwo ukanzwa kuti uyu ari kunyatso kutaurira neeloquence yake nechi kari kunyatso kutaura ukanzwa kaEce Lumumba kana achitaura mhofu vaivai kana vachitaura so vanenge vanyatsoflowa vachiita sei vaita sei, but chizotora frame by frame unozoti okay apa ko apa ko apa ko apa ko apa munozoona kuti izvo pa8 minutes dzava kutaurirai dzavataura nemi dzamateerera pamwe 4 minutes ndo dzinogona kunge dziri dzechokwadi. Imwe yese yapropaganda manje, imwe yese vakukangai manje mhofu. Saka iwo ukadzimara warohwa hook line and sinker watokabira watodyira. Saka I want to believe kuti this is why you are seeing these folks now coming in. Ungateerere here muku iwo ari kuudza kuti nhasi chivayo azodya chingwa azodya nhasi chivayo azodya ningichi kuti nhasi chivayo akapfeka chakati kuti nhasi chivayo akadai ungaswera uchimuteerera wewe ungoda handiti chingenyangu uyu anopenga uyu anopenga but kana achinge vakuzoya manje vanenge da kukonhesa iso kuda kukonhesa vanhu. But kana iwo kana usingaziye widely, usina a world view of what is happening in Zimbabwe, unodyira. Saka that is what I think.
Saka now if we are getting to such a level, you will not imagine it was divide and rule. What are the tools and methods do we have at our disposal to fight back against 2030? Because once Mafidi dynasty atopin. So what are the tools at our disposal? Those are because we can't just discuss this thing and think that we can let it go, or even public safety can improve, because it's going to escalate. What do we have to do? This is what we need to talk about. Those things which are at our disposal, can we unleash them, or is it an issue of willpower within an individual? Because we know basically that the optics which are being painted, they are basically wrong. We know it's true. These are their wrong optics. That's why they have to be unleashed, to come out. Listen to the economic of ACE. I mean, let's be honest. Discuss economics against Zimbabwe. Is disjointed to reality. He sees as if those Zimbabwe is Tagwire is Zimbabwe, and the Reserve Bank, Tagwire can do whatever he wants and he likes with it. He's fanning these issues of public safety because ndo majikiro anoziva, because makamuteerera mukanzomuzwa akaitaura kuti no vanhu ngavatopinda munyaya yematenda because Tagwire ane access to what, to the Reserve
You
Bank.
understand? Saka imimi kana imimi makunzwa message iyoyo kuti Tagwire manje akukuudza ani makanzwa achitaura kuti kuzone 2 kunoku zvatira kuita tira kubva taenda kuPras. Inonzi inonzi Pras andizvi yenenge procurement. Tobva tanoregister kuprocurement. Tonokuregister kuprocurement. I want you to think for a second about that message. Tagwirei ari kuudza chaunga chevanhu kuti ndira kukutorai mimi vanhu vemuzone 2 ndonotaura kumusoro ndonokuregistai kuPras kuitira kuti mupiwe matenda. Yeah? Azvipositiona nengisani go between iye nePras. Semunhu anoregister anokwanisa kuregister vanhu iye nePras. But iwewe, can you not go and register with Pras on your own? Can you not do that?
No, but the thing is basically telling you, you know, I now have the power because I mean, listen,
that is exactly what I'm saying.
Now I have the power now to do whatever I want in Zimbabwe. I ordered Ziambi to change the constitution to suit